Welcome. This is the second project of the Machine Learning with Azure Nano degree. This project is called Operationalizing Machine Learning. The project basically is sort of the next step to the after the first project we learned how to create model via the studio and the SDK. In this project, basically we're gonna learn how to deploy that model, consume the endpoints, and how to automate the pipeline. I've done this screencast a couple of times, and it's kind of hard to stay within the 5 minutes, so I'm going to go fairly quickly. This is my README file. I'm going to go through the file, and then I'm going to show some key elements in the studio per the rubric. Okay, I got some detailed steps here in the README, which kind of helps me keep organized and kind of as I went through to kind of satisfy the rubric screenshots that were required. First step is, of course, is to get the data and upload it to the particular data store. We then have to do an AutoML experiment and confirm that that experiment is complete, which I have a screenshot here. We then have to deploy, the best model from the experiment, right? To do that, you go to the Deploy tab, fill out a form, decide whether you can use Kubernetes or a container instance. In this case, we're using a container instance, and enable authentication. You have to then verify that the status, is healthy, which, as you see here, that's a screenshot of that. We then get a config file, and we have to place that in the current directory. We then take the log script, amend it here, and enable and run it, and that then enables the application insights, right, for the logs, and we have to then show that is complete, and that's what this here shows as you see the application insight URL. We then have to consume the endpoints. In this case here, we run a Swagger script. It loads a Docker container. We run the serve.py script, which serves the content of the directory, and then we confirm that Swagger is up and it has some of the details, and I'll show that. We then go to the Consume tab, to the endpoint URL. It has a primary key. Obtain the URL and the primary key. We go to the endpoints.py script, and we then run that and prove that we can get to the endpoint and retrieve an output from the model. Okay, here we are in Machine Learning Studio under the AutoML section. This here shows our available AutoML model. Okay, I'm going to go to the endpoints here quickly. Here's my published endpoint. As you can see, it's using the container instance. And when we have that published endpoint, you can see here it's healthy. You can see here the REST endpoint. You can see the Swagger URL, and the application insight is enabled. Okay, let's quickly go to Swagger here. I guess you can see I have Swagger running. Key thing here is this post here shows you sort of the payload, right, that you need to provide to be able to get an output or consume the model. It's interesting thing here is this little inputs piece here I found interesting, in that I needed to fix a file to have this work, which I'll show here soon. Okay, here we are in our endpoints.py script. Here we of course get these the REST endpoint and the key from the consume tab of the model. We place that. And here's our sample payload. The key here was initially it wasn't working, and that's because it wasn't matching what was showing right in the Swagger. And so I had to put the little inputs, I had to amend the JSON here and put the little input key. And once, let's run it here. I got a sample run, but it should run. As you can see here, it's running, and then it gives me an output of no and no. Basically, these two, these two inputs to the model, which kind of represent a person. The prediction here was that both of them kind of would not open up an account, right? Finally, for our pipeline automation, we use the code that we have in our Jupyter notebook. We run the cells to a certain point and basically do a run the pipeline here. Here's a screenshot of the step run. We then confirm that the pipeline is available. Here's a screenshot of that in Azure. We then have to publish the pipeline, clicking on the publish tab above. And we confirm that the pipeline shows a REST endpoint, right? Here's a screenshot of that. After we have that REST endpoint, we can interact with that endpoint. We can do it. We can schedule some run for the future. We can kind of trigger the request right here using this code here. Is what we do here. You see the REST endpoint parameter here. Once you run that, you can then confirm that that request was completed. Here's a screenshot of that here. In Machine Learning Studios, on the pipelines, we can see our pipeline here. Click on that, we see that there, right? The run complete. She's using the bank marketing data. You see here it's complete here. And then you can kind of view the details. And it'll show you here the REST endpoint I've shown. So that's it. I think I went over the 5 minutes. Hope that's okay. It was a very interesting project, and I'm eager for the next one. Thank you so much.